How high do you want to climb the work ladder? Are you shooting for the top, or do you have more modest intentions? What size and what shape cog do you want to be in the next machine you choose to work in? To use a different analogy, do you aspire to be a big fish in a small pond, or perhaps a small one in a big pond? Yeah, if you're ambitious, perhaps you'd like to be a very big fish indeed, or at least an important or influential one, irrespective of the size of the pond you choose to swim in. These sorts of aims are amusing to ponder in isolation, but sometimes difficult to implement when the reality of a working life kicks in. That's the challenge of fulfilling your potential in any job you decide to do. What's certain is that you shouldn't start any work search without thinking carefully about where you want to go and what you want to achieve. This is day 9 of the 40-day job search. Hello, I'm Neil Grant, the person behind the Vocation Master Training Programme, and I help you do better work. If you're looking for an employed position with a private sector organisation, you've come to the right place, because I'm going to show you how to transform your professional future by taking complete control of your next job search. Everything you'll be learning in this tutorial series is taken from my complete job search masterclass. You'll find syllabus and enrolment details for that at my website. You can also take advantage of my free Job Interview Secrets video course. With that, you get 3 hours of information, advice and action plans that go directly to the heart of my job interview strategy. Now, I used to charge $99 for this short course, but I'm now making it available without any charge whatsoever to say thank you for showing interest in what I do, and also as an insight into how I work. If you want to nail any kind of job interview, you can't afford to miss out on this unique material. Just go to vocationmaster.com for free and immediate access. Well, I hope you enjoy my Job Interview Secrets course, but before you get on to that, here's today's topic. I've named my job search training program carefully, which featured in the ident you saw a few seconds ago, as you probably realise. That's Vocation Master, for the benefit of anyone who's only listening to the audio and not watching the video of today's tutorial. This name might give a clue about the scale of many of my course participants' ambitions, or at least the possibilities that I believe my approach will open up to you. This applies equally to the planning and execution phases of your work search. You see, I think that the various sorts of work you could choose to do can be categorised in a certain way. When you think about which of these groupings most appeals to you, your work goals should become much clearer, and this will necessarily inform the decisions you take about how to achieve your objectives. There are just 3 categories to get your head around, all of which are completely unrelated to the particular field of work you're involved in, by the way. You can choose to do a job. You might decide to have a career, or you could aim to pursue a vocation. Job, career, or vocation. Those are the 3 basic options that are in front of you, and in this tutorial I want to outline what's involved at each level of work and explain how this simple framework is a good place to kickstart your job search planning. I'll also give you a few ideas about the best route to take to make sure you arrive at your preferred destination as quickly and effectively as possible. So, here are the three possibilities. First up comes a job. Although I put this at the bottom of the hierarchy of work choices, I want to be absolutely clear that I don't belittle the notion of having a job compared to a career or a vocation. And I certainly don't criticise anyone for opting to do nothing more than a job. Most employees fall into this category after all, and many people are perfectly content with their jobs and derive meaning, purpose and satisfaction from them. That said, how do I define a job in this context? There are no hard and fast rules here, but a job is often work that someone does for practical reasons above all. As the foot soldiers of any organisation, people who do jobs are crucial to the smooth running of an enterprise, despite often being seen as the most expendable or replaceable. Pay is usually lower than what you earn in the other two categories, something I'll talk about shortly. There's not necessarily any implied progression beyond whatever the work involves, although a job might deliver a worker onto a career track, and it may pay extremely well in some cases. But here comes the major distinction. If someone does a job in the sense that I'm talking about here, they rarely have much control over fundamental aspects of their work. There might be some flexibility about how, when and where they do their jobs, but on the whole, someone else sets the parameters regarding the way these things happen. This is hugely important in terms of personal and professional well-being, the level of satisfaction you get from your work, and your perceived quality of life. The less agency you have over your workplace actions and decisions, the worse these things tend to be. Next up comes a career. People who occupy this category often have more control over their work in comparison with job-type people. It's not always the case, but work that's associated with a career generally focuses on higher level, more business critical functions. This usually leads to greater agency, although it's not always the case, notwithstanding greater pressures from bosses, clients and so on. Lots of careerists work alone. But another metric is to identify career people as those who do some kind of managerial or supervisory work, compared to people who are managed or supervised in some way. The US Bureau of Labour Statistics reckons that 15 to 20% of workers fall into this category, whilst taking home around 30% of the entire earnings pot. So, more money is the norm for anyone who has a career. Does having a career make you happier than having a job? Well, that depends. If you value higher earnings, more responsibility and the prestige that goes with your position, quite possibly. But if the added stress and pressures that go hand in hand with some career paths isn't your cup of tea, or possibly not. Finally, at the top of my hierarchy of work comes a vocation. Some traditionalists think of a vocation as meaning that you dedicate your life to an occupation such as education, the sciences, or one of the caring professions, for example. But I see things a little differently. For sure, some people are intrinsically drawn to a particular line of work, including some I've just mentioned. Perhaps they've always had a burning desire to join this worthy cadre of workers. It might be that they're following a family tradition of specific work that's been cultivated since birth, or an inspirational teacher or friend sparked an early passion that's never been extinguished. These are foundations which can often lead to a lifetime of fulfilling work. However, there is another way of assessing a vocation. If you do work that you feel a strong affinity to, or that you consider to be an unusually good match for your professional skill set or personal strengths, I'd say that you're firmly in vocational territory. This can apply to any field of work, and not only the ones that are associated with traditional vocation stereotypes. If you do work that you enjoy so much that you look forward to 9 a.m. every Monday morning, or if you'd happily do your work for no pay, if that was a financial possibility, you're part of the way there. Other measures of achieving vocational status are these. You do work that almost entirely satisfies each of your professional demands, psychological needs and personal desires. You're highly regarded in your work arena, whether that's within your industry or purely inside the company you're employed by. You're probably a linchpin of some sort, a person who's central to the success of your organisation. You could even be a mentor, an expert in your field, and an authoritative voice who coaches and advises up-and-coming staff who might eventually follow in your footsteps. Above all, having a vocation intrinsically confers the most rarefied levels of work satisfaction and fulfilment. Without wishing to knock the upsides of having a job or a career, if you want to maximise the quality of your working life, a vocation's where it's at. And here's an important question that many people ask. Does a vocation lead to the highest earnings? Well, the answer is simple. Sometimes, but not always. The people who earn the fattest paychecks often sit lower on the work hierarchy, although they invariably have to put up with serious compromises and trade-offs to enable them to make a fat wad of money. I know what it's like to occupy each of these three work categories. I've experienced all of them at different stages of my life. And I can tell you that having a vocation beats the others, hands down. In my view, too many workers fall short of acquiring vocational status, despite the eminent possibility of getting there if they wanted to. Some of the reasons for this concern a lack of ambition or a willingness to accept mediocrity over excellence. But it's often about poor clarity of purpose or not knowing the best strategy to follow. These last two are my area. I've already said that the number one aim is to help shift as many people out of the 80% of disengaged workers and into the 20% of engaged ones. Look back at the tutorial on day 5 if you'd like a refresher on that. My secondary aim, which follows hot on the heels of the primary one, is to show anyone who wants to move upwards through a job, a career and onto a vocation precisely how to walk this pathway. That's why I've given my training program the name Vocation Master. It's what the remainder of the 40-day job search is all about. Okay, that's about it for now. But before I leave you, a quick shout out for what's coming up next. Join me tomorrow for the 10th tutorial in this series, when I'll be talking about the importance of preparing yourself for the success that will soon come your way. This is an essential psychological part of the planning process as you begin to discover fantastic work opportunities with high quality employers who are desperately in need of what you can offer them and everything you do after that. Now, if you prefer to listen to training materials rather than watching or reading them, all of these job search tutorials are available in audio format. Search for the Vocation cast wherever you get your podcasts and via my website, of course. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and share. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.